So I want to talk about more. This idea that the more we have, the happier we'll be. And this is really the myth in the voice of what our culture tells us. We see it over and over again, whether it's for men's development, whether it's for self-help, whether it's for success. The more we have, the more women, the more money, the more time, the more of material, the more of control, the more of emotion, then we will have satisfaction. Then we will have happiness. And what's so interesting about this is that more does not come from satisfaction. The phenomenon of more, the phenomenon of needing more, of being unsatisfied, comes from not being satisfied, from not being fulfilled. It comes from desperation. It comes from not having enough. And when we look at this idea of more as an answer, this idea of having more women, more sex, more money, more things, more control, then we're really coming from a voice from without. And so what I see and what we talk about at the sexual life, and it's almost impossible for a man to have a good social, a good sexual life, a good connection with other people without exploring these deeper parts of self. And so what we really talk about, other than the social dynamics that we cover, in being a better man, are these ideas. And one of them is to not come from the voice of desperation, not come from the voice of addiction or the fuel that causes addiction, but coming from the solution and coming from the voice of having. And so the big difference is here is how can we come from a voice of satisfaction? How can we learn the road of what it means to be fulfilled, what it means to have had enough, what it means to be satiated with our emotions, our mentality, our body, our sex, our urges, our love, and not chase these superficial reactions of what this voice of desperation, this cultural voice of desperation of more, tells us that we need. And think about this with women. What do we want? We want SNLs, we want good sex, we want stories to tell people, we want multiple sexual partners, we want all this, we want more, because then we'll be a man, we'll be an expression of ourselves, when in reality that's not true. Who do you know that's lived that may be a characteristic of theirs, but that simple goal, that simple accomplishment, and I think the pickup industry is riddled with instructors now who haven't developed into a functioning, successful life. When it comes down to this idea that we're going to get those things, we need to realize that's coming from a desperate voice. The idea of this exaggerated sexual life, the idea of this exaggerated celebrity, this exaggerated need for attention and adoration and validation is somehow going to make you happy. We've proven that it actually makes you more miserable. It gets you in touch with that desperation. It gets you in touch with that without. And even if we look at it from an addiction standpoint, the idea of having more alcohol, the idea of having more food, the idea of having more sex, the idea of fulfilling the void within you, the validation that says you're going to be all right, whether that's a needle in your arm or whether that's a pussy that you find it in, is just going to hurt you whether you get that or not. Because the isolation, the loneliness, the dysfunction still comes into play. And so what we look at is what we are like when we are satisfied. What is satisfaction for you? And that's really what this video is about, and perhaps I should focus on it more. Think about this. Your urge is pure, your sexual appetite, your sexuality. You're born to be social, you're born to be sexual, you were born to be healthy, you were born to have positive emotions, you were born to express yourself. Those things, there's beauty in them. Your urge of beauty, your urge of sex, your urge of wanting to fuck, there is truth in that. Your urge that is propelling you to want that threesome, that is saying that is what's going to make you happy. There is a beauty in that, but where is that? Where is the satisfaction in that? Where's the satisfaction in your sexual appetite? Think about it. When have you been satisfied? Again, there could be truth in that crazy, superlative, exaggerated mindset that is telling you it's going to make you happy. There could be satisfaction in that, but probably not satisfaction in the overall life. Where is your satisfaction with your emotion in that? Where is your satisfaction with your relationship in that? Or what types of relationships are going to make you satisfied? And see, the want guides us in a certain way, but it almost never leads us down the road of what is true fulfillment. And to put this into a realistic perspective, I'm somebody that has been in the seduction industry since 2006. I became an instructor in 2007, actually since 2005, but whatever. And I've lived everything sexually. I've done everything I've wanted. I've had threesomes, I've had the orgies, I've had multiple women, I've had women doing anything that I could imagine that would make myself happy, and found that I was not. And then in that, I realized that there was actually a beauty in that. None of it was wrong. The sexual behavior is not wrong. What's wrong is the expression honest? Is the expression really me? Is the expression really them? And part of that sexuality, that voraciousness, that sexual appetite that I had needed to be experienced, needed to be expressed. But then I had to learn this other lesson of where was the emotional satisfaction in it? Where was the satisfaction that I'd find peace in, that would I find the truth of sexuality, the virtues of masculinity, the virtues of femininity within it. And that's what we need to look at, all the way to how could I have a relationship with that? How could I have a relationship with this woman, with this sexual act? How could I have a relationship with these many women? And how could I have the relationship that I have today with Mayeda, with a family? How could I hold on to that truth? How could I speak my urge? How could I be that man? And how could I live in my fulfillment and satisfaction rather than my need to have more? See, what makes me happy sexually, what makes me happy socially, what makes me happy with finances, with the things that I have, is very little. What makes me happy in my everyday life is one personal interaction with somebody a day. What makes me happy in my sexual life is one release a day, sometimes two. If it gets a little bit crazy, maybe three. And then I go to sleep for a very long time. But it's simple, what makes me happy. What makes me fulfilled in my chaos can be solved within 15 minutes. What makes me happy in my creativity could just take a moment a day. But to think from a mind that has a void to fill, to think that from a mind that thinks it's less than, to think from a mind that depends on more, it can never be happy with whatever it gets. And sadly, that's the voice of our culture. Sadly, that's the voice of men. And sadly, that's the voice of the solution. Happiness, the solution, peace, what you're born to be, sexually, socially, healthy, mentally, physically, emotionally, is usually in a very simple act that you can do right now, independent of your situation, independent of everything of this chatter of what you're supposed to be. If you want more, stop making it about getting. Stop making it about having. And start making it about how you're an expression. If you're in this voice of more, stop making it about wanting. Stop making it about getting. Stop making it about having to control. And start looking at the things that you have. Start looking at the things that you are. And in that, you can be the man that you were born to be. You're born to be sexual. You're born to be social. You were born to be you.